Hey 918ers, it's Geek Boy, and for everyone who follows our broadcast, you know that last week we talked a lot about the fact that the DC Extended Universe has all but lost its Superman and its Batman, with both Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck walking away from their respective roles. Now, however, as we said, these developments are merely symptoms of bigger issues that have plagued the DCEU since its inception. I'm joined once again today by Turtle Gal and Brunch and Bullets, and this week we're going to take a deep dive into what those issues are, as well as give our thoughts on how Warner Brothers and DC might fix them, just in case anyone from that company is listening. All that, and as always, a little more, on this episode of The Talking Geek, which starts right now. Hey gang, welcome back from the break. It's Geek Boy, and again joining me are Turtle Gal and Brunch and Bullets. And in a bit of a continuation from our discussion from last week, we're going to talk about what we think are the four main issues that are plaguing the DCEU right now. Now, as always, Fanboys 918 is a group that loves our genre material, and we're not here to personally attack the filmmakers, the actors, or more importantly, the fans of these movies. We recognize the DCEU has a strong following, but we are here to discuss some of the areas where we think these movies have kind of missed the mark. So, that being said, let's jump into what we see as issue number one with these films, the characters. I'm fully aware that what I'm about to say may get some people's eyebrows up, if not more, but hear me out. The irony about the DCEU floundering is Warner Brothers and DC own the intellectual property rights to the three most iconic heroes in the world. Now, I say that knowing that Wolverine's popular, Spider-Man's popular. My mother, has nothing to do with genre entertainment, the only thing she knows about it is, the only connection she has to it is because she's my mother. She could tell you Batman's origin story, and probably tell you Superman's origin story, and she knows who Wonder Woman is. That's how much of our public identity these characters have become. Again, I feel like they completely missed the point of the characters. I mean, let's take Marvel just real quick. It's hard because DC isn't Marvel, Marvel isn't DC. But Marvel has made a lot of changes to their source material, but because they understand their characters, we'll put up with it. I mean, I say put up with it. We will accept it. We will accept a lot if you tell me that you understand the characters.
And you give us a good movie.
Civil War was not a direct page one adaptation of the Marvel comic. Just like Age of Ultron wasn't, just like Infinity War wasn't. But they understood the core of the story, and they created a movie that was watchable and complete in a whole amount of time. And the fact that we can't get consistently compelling films featuring these three characters is baffling at best and infuriating at worst. I mean, would you agree with that?
Look at Deadpool. His favorite comic book is Batman. He wants to meet Batman. So, I mean, they are mixed together because, but Batman is a big staple, and Superman is a big staple, and Wonder Woman is too. But their movies aren't very good.
We love our iconic superheroes, and they have our hearts and our souls. And
they're iconic for a reason.
Right.
I feel sad that, it's come down to this.
They can't get it together.
Most well-received movie in the DCEU besides Wonder Woman is Man of Steel. Okay?
I loved Man of Steel. I thought it was a great movie.
Okay. And
I also am a very big Henry Cavill fan. And when you got a suit that's pretty much very close to the bottom, it helps.
I had three main issues with Man of Steel. One of which was this whole deconstructed, pensive, brooding, unsecure Superman that they tried to push on me. Which, again, nothing against Henry Cavill. He did what was expected of him as an actor. But that's not Superman. And ladies out there and ladies here, as unsexy as it is, Superman's a Boy Scout. He does the right thing. He's always going to do the right thing. He is a symbol of hope. And
he is the nice guy that gets friend zoned. Because it was a while before Lois Lane and him got together. She friend zoned him.
Right. And,
hardcore.
And they don't, and I would argue that none of the films, including until maybe the last half of Justice League, figured that out. The other thing is Jonathan Kent's death. That was ridiculous. The fact that his dad allowed himself to die in a tornado, yes, it was visually amazing, and I'll admit it tugged at all of our heartstrings. The fact that Superman's dad died of a heart attack humanized Superman, because he realized, wow, there's some things I can't do.
Yeah, he could not save his dad.
Right.
And he could have saved his dad in the tornado.
Right.
His dad just didn't allow him to.
Right.
And I think they missed a misstep on that one as well. I think that.
But I mean, there was another way to portray it. They could have stuck to the heart attack. It could have been that he was away. He was gone. I mean, he had to go to college because he works as a journalist. You have to have a college degree to be a journalist, especially if you're going to try to portray it as something now.
Right. Or if they were hell-bent on the tornado, have him save him from the tornado, but the stress of everything makes him have a heart attack. Yeah. It's not that hard, guys. And the last thing that really sticks in my craw is the final battle in Metropolis with General Zod. Superman, and this was brought out very effectively in the Christopher Reeve films, Superman would rather leave and run away from a fight than put all those civilians in danger. Mm-hmm. And to me, the wanton destruction that went on in Metropolis, who the hell wants to be the mayor of Gotham or Metropolis?
Who's going to clean that up? That's all I got. Like, who's cleaning that up? It's not me.
I know.
I just think that they have missed their mark with not bringing their TV shows with their movies. They had their following with Supergirl and Arrow and The Flash, and they've just not followed through with that. And I know they've always said that, you know, they're separate entities, but I think that is part of their problem.
Because they have a great way to reset this whole DC movie universe if they make a Flash movie and make it a Flashpoint movie.
Well, I can tell you...
With Gustin, yes.
But I can tell you right now that what's going to be used and what I've heard is that the movies are in one dimension and TV is in another.
But you're leaving a lot of goodwill on the table by doing that.
Because the DC universe is so topsy-turvy and they do weird things, and so that's what they're saying is, this is one universe.
Oh, I know. This is Earth 32. This is Earth... Right. Oh, I get it. But and I do understand the argument that someone has made that, well, if we did say that the CW shows are part of this universe, then the writers have to basically incorporate all that continuity for the shows. Well, my argument is, at this point, you've only got 5 movies. Make that the responsibility of the TV shows. You know, make them have to deal with the fact that Batman and Superman had a big ass fight in Metropolis or Gotham. You know, I mean, make them have to deal with that, because it's only you're only releasing a couple movies a year. It can't be that hard.
All of the TV shows are B characters. So I mean,
the Flash is, and I never considered
Flash, the Penguin. I mean,
that's right. They've got there's Gotham. Yeah.
I mean, Gotham is Gotham is dark, and I mean, they have taken it way to the next level.
Gotham is batshit insane. Pardon me for that, but it is.
It's okay, Bruce Wayne he was a wholesome kid, and he started to fight injustice because of what happened to his dad and his mom. And they have taken this way over the edge. And the Penguin, not that I don't mind the Penguin on Gotham, he is he's
one of the
better ones.
Right.
But, you know, we quit watching it because it just got to be so dark.
And so crazy.
Crazy.
There were times I looked at you and said, this show's the best comedy on TV, just doesn't know it. I mean, it was that. So, Gotham being an outlier, I think we can agree that the CW shows are all really good. And DC's really got a hand, which is ironic because Marvel can't seem to do TV very well.
Right.
Here's the other issue with going back to Man of Steel, and I think these issues have plagued the DCEU going forward. All the things that we're talking about that are wrong with Man of Steel have percolated throughout the entire movie series, and that is, Man of Steel was never intended to be a universe Kickstarter. It was supposed to kickstart the Superman franchise again. There was never an intention for this to be the groundbreaking film to start the DC Extended Universe. That was retconned into it after the fact, and because of that, the rest of the DC Universe is saddled with that baggage all the way through.
Yeah, because then we got a Batman versus Superman movie that everybody hates.
And instead of making a Batman movie, making a proper Man of Steel movie, they decided to do both.
And the thing about it is they put Batman against Superman, and they were friends.
Loosely, they were friends.
The writers, the directors, the people, they understood the core conflict between Batman and Superman, which is each other's methods chafe against the other. But the way they chose to portray it on screen, they made Batman a complete jerk. I mean, he was just a total jerk about the whole thing, and they failed to show that conflict in any meaningful way. And the movie itself is too dark, both narratively, literally, photographically. I think, and I know that people are going to string me up for this because Larry Fong's a great cinematographer, I think the movie's ugly. I think all the DC movies, except Wonder Woman, are very ugly.
They're very dark.
Yeah, Suicide Squad is a hot mess.
Oh, God.
Never watched it. Don't want to watch it.
Well, you're not missing...
You're not missing much, but you're missing out on some of the conversations.
Yes. And that's another movie that fell victim to its marketing strategy because the company that cut the trailer together, they got such great response from the trailer that they ordered that company to go recut the movie because the tone of the actual movie didn't fit the tone of the trailer, I suppose. And so the movie we got was nowhere near next to David Ayer's original vision. That's why there's so many things missing that are in the trailer.
My favorite thing, just about Suicide real fast, my favorite thing I read about it was when they're like, somebody was like, it's like flipping through the car radio every time you hear a new song.
Yes.
It's weird. The songs don't go together. You have a really pumpy song, then you have, Bohemian Rhapsody, which Bohemian Rhapsody is a great song. Everybody loves it. But it's the only song that fits with the movie.
There's a lot of things that just seem to be happening that don't seem to make sense, not just in the movie, in the DC universe as a whole, because I'm going to jump back to Turtle Gal's biggest complaint about the DC movies not leveraging the goodwill that these existing characters have on the TV shows and bringing that to the screen.
Right.
That, I mean, to me the biggest, and I know yours too, and I'll let you speak about it, is The Flash.
Oh, yeah. Horrible. Grant Gustin is the Flash.
He owns that role.
They totally went wrong with the whole him living on the street, he was a freaking scientist, for God's sake. He living on the street, phasing in and out.
Listen, we're not criticizing Ezra Miller as an actor. I think, again, going back to, I heard someone say this, and I apologize for everyone listening because I can't remember where the quote came from. Watching Justice League, they can't tell if they want the Flash to be 16 or 26.
Yeah.
It's like from one scene to the next. There's no consistency there. Yeah. So, we kind of sit here and we've...
But don't most 26-year-old boys still act like they're 16? Because as a person of that age, I can tell you they do.
And I think what we're talking about is we're watching all these systemic problems that we've complained about kind of culminate with Justice League. Because keep in mind, yes, Wonder Woman was a fantastic movie. These other films that we're talking about that were either divisive or people hated, they were still financially successful. The fans still supported. They still turned out for Suicide Squad, even though the reviews were bad. And most word of mouth was bad. They turned out for Batman v Superman. Now, would they have turned out more had it been better? I think so. But finally,
would they have seen it again?
Right, yes. Would they have seen it multiple times? And so then when we got Justice League, it was like all the sins of the DCEU were on full display, only they were amped up to 11. Dark, ugly cinematography. Check. A failure to capitalize on the existing media property with bringing Green Arrow and Supergirl to check, a rushed, underdeveloped plot, check, and lastly, a film that differs significantly from the tone and the trailers and the filmmaker's original visions, without having to wait for the Blu-ray to watch the director's cut and have it actually make some sense. But, you know, when we got
Still added so much time to it.
I know.
It's still that long.
Well, and you know, that's another problem. Why is Warner Brothers greenlighting scripts that they have no intention of releasing in the form that they're shot in the form that they're greenlit in? I mean,
that's a producer's issue, though. Like, that's on them.
Right, exactly. Why did you say, okay, go make this movie when we're not going to release a 3-hour film in the theater?
Because it drives up their Blu-rays.
It does. But you can't count on a Blu-ray to make your money back. That's a dangerous game to play. So just final thoughts, yes, no answer. Is this RIP for the DCEU? Is it done?
No, I can't see DC being done. They can't let Marvel make all the money.
I understand that. And well, they're not going to walk away from the character of Batman regardless. Bullets? DCEU? Still going? Dead? Rebooted? What?
I would hate for them to have to reboot it. Mainly because then I have to spend all that money to see all that shit again.
Okay, so to kind of, wrap this all up, we've unpacked it a lot more probably than we intended to. We spent the last 15, 20 minutes talking about the things wrong with the DCEU and if it's dead and does it have a path going forward. And honestly, I believe in everything that we've talked about lies the solution. I think that DC needs to make a plan. I think that they need to leverage the goodwill that they have in their existing TV properties because they do have a lot of fans, they do have some good ratings, they have some good actors in the roles. Fold those into the movies. And, last but not least, from the writing standpoint, and this was something that we didn't talk about a whole lot, maybe bring the animation team in to try to write some of these scripts for the movies because the DC animation people are doing films that, for all intents and purposes, the fans are just watching movies like Flashpoint Paradox and The Death of Superman and going, just do that. Just do that on the big screen. So I think if DC were able to stop for just a few minutes, few weeks, take your pick, and look around and do a hardcore reassessment rather than just keep learning the same bad lessons over and over again, I believe that the DCEU does have a successful path forward that could rival Marvel. At least that's all of our thoughts. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you everybody for listening, and as always, this is Geek Boy to everybody in the 918 saying peace.